So date 28th June 2024, time is this. We have seen the directives. What do you mean by directives? That we have seen. Now what I need to do, we need to create custom directives. So we can create both. Let me first create the project, then we will discuss. Day 55. CD web dev angular day 55. Can you tell me the command? What is the command for creating new project? Engineer. Name of the app custdir. Hit the enter. Plain CSS. Server side rendering, no. So installing the expected packages. It will take little time. So custom directives. So we can create our own structural directive. We can create our own template, our own attribute directive. Angular.dev. So you can go here. Directives. So there are three types of the directive: component, attribute, structural. Attribute works on the attribute and structural works on the page structure. Just a minute. Okay. So these are the three directives: components, attribute directive, and the structural directive. We have used them. And now we need to create our own. We need to create our own attribute directive, and we need to create our own structural directive. So how to do that? Yeah. So here you can go, and here you can say cd custdir nggd. What is the command? nggd. And here we can say magic mgcol. Name of my directive is mgcol. Hit the enter. It will create new directive mgcol, right? And if you look at this, name of the directive is app mgcol. standalone true, and this thing. Now we can add this directive. Let's have this section. We can add this directive on particular attribute. So presently we didn't define, so there is difference in the code which makes them attribute and the structural. So here I have, and I will apply, here you can say app mgcol, app mgcol. Can you see that? I can apply something like this. But if you want to do that, you need to import that guy, mgcol directive. Let's run the project, npm start, and here localhost 4200, and presently there is nothing. Let's create a style, or if you see app mgcol over here. Now what we need, how do we create our own directive?
Which is that file, Aniruddha? The created file of the directive?
This is mgcol directive.tf. Yeah.
It is again, okay. It is a different file.
It's a different file. mgcol directive.
Directive has an extension.
So this name can be anything.
Okay.
So this is a name. Extension is last ts.
Yes.
Okay, mgcol.
Just like by default, it create for a component as a app.component.
Correct. So here app.component.ts, mgcol directive.ts. Okay. So here if you see building an attribute directive, ng generate directive, we have done that. Standalone this thing. Now what I need to do, so the directive on which this is applied, the element on which this is applied, we can access that element in a directive via element ref. See here, this is a bad idea, but private val el ref is of type element ref. Element reference is a class. So what is this element reference? It will name itself is suggesting it will refer to the element where it has been attached. Where it has been attached, section. So here you can say element el ref dot native element. Can you see? Dot style dot width is equals to 100 is equals to 100 px. Height again, height. Can you see how do you do DOM manipulation? Height again 100 ps, and element ref dot background color, and we can say red. Can you see? Attribute directive. You didn't write anything over here, you just attached app mgcol. You just have attached app mgcol. Okay.
Can you explain the code?
Say that again.
Can you explain the code?
No, I didn't get that. Say that again.
Can you explain the code?
Okay. So here element ref. What is the element ref? So this is your directive app.mgcol. So you have attached that on the it on the section on the app component HTML. So this whole section is accessible inside the directive by means of element ref.
Which section is available? Access? Sorry.
This section, the section tag, is available inside the directive by means of this element ref. Right? So you have attached where this app.mgcol on the section tag. So section tag is as it is accessible inside the mgcol directive via element ref.
So in that case, other than section, suppose we use paragraph, that
Anywhere.
will also do?
Yeah, that will also do. If you see this paragraph app.mgcol, anywhere, that element is accessible over here. So that is the para. Right? Cleared it or not?
We are creating one reference variable of element ref, and with that we are accessing all these
Correct.
properties.
So this element ref will give you the native HTML element. And the style on the way you write a style, instead you write a style over here, you write a style over here. Width is a style, height is a style, and background color is a style. Correct?
Yeah.
So this is the
here native element in this case. First case is a section. Right?
Yes, the section element.
Section is an element. In second case, paragraph is
the element. Correct. That you are accessing here in a code. DOM manipulation. You don't need to do find view by ID. If you don't do this thing, you need to do same thing in a find view by ID and then apply the style on the element. Angular doesn't allow you to do that thing. Okay, so here we have applied the directive. Right, here we have applied the directive.
This is custom
attribute directive. You have applied it on the attribute, right, as an attribute. Custom attribute directive. So this thing is okay, but next question comes into the picture. How do you handle the events? How do you handle the events? So if you want to handle the events, you need something like this. Just a minute.
So Aniruddha, one basic question.
Yeah.
See, we can do all this using the CSS as well, right?
Correct.
So why we need to do the custom directive, use custom attribute directive?
Okay.
I mean, how it is beneficial than the normal way?
Okay, so there is a one class you have written in a CSS which gives you the background color red, but I want to give the background color blue. If I click the checkbox, I want to give background color blue. If I uncheck the checkbox, uncheck it, I want to give the background color red. For this, you need to write the two classes. One class with the background color red and one class with the background color blue. And you need to handle the event, right? And you need to apply the different classes in a DOM manipulation. So if the situation is dynamic, I don't know the value of a background color, red or blue. So that value user is going to enter into the text box, or that value will come from the server end. How do you write the custom CSS? You getting my point? There is a text box. User would be entering any color, and that color you need to write it, give it as a background. Hello?
Yeah, but here we actually hard coded
Ah,
give the color as red.
yeah, here we have hard coded. So if you can do this thing, this can be changed by means of this red can be stored in one variable, and the value of the variable can also be changed at any point in time. Correct? So making your web app dynamic as much as possible. So there are two approaches. Do the DOM manipulation, but traditionally you have been doing, or you can do the DOM manipulation that traditionally you have been doing, or you use the framework like Angular or React. DOM manipulation they will do, but you need to follow their strategy. Their strategy, Angular says that you need to use the directive if you want to do something like this dynamically. This section, if you want to work with the dynamically, you need to use the directive. Now I want to set the colors on the basis of the REST API. How do you do it in CSS? One REST API will define what would be the background color and what would be the width and height. So here you are giving width and height, but the background color will define. The background color will, what you can say, define what would be your color and the width and height. How do you do that with the help of plain CSS? Not possible, right? Hello?
Yes, yes. Right.
Okay. Now let's move ahead. Handling the events. How do you handle the events? So if you see, highlight directive, and if you see, okay, let's do in this way. So I will comment out this constructor. Now what I can do here, I can have bg call, right, is of type string, and at host binding, and you are going to bind with which property? Background. This is CSS property, color, bg call, host binding, and at input also. Right, default is white. Now app bg call, over here we have, this is the custom property we have created. Just do in this way. Now there is one function, handle mouse in, handle mouse out. These are our custom functions. And if you want to handle the event, so host binding, host means this section, and I want to bind with the property background color. Okay, I want to bind with which property? Background color. Similarly, host listener, I want to bind with the particular event mouse enter, and here you can say mouse leave, let me cross verify, mouse enter and mouse leave. These are the standard Angular events if your cursor, yeah, E is small and L is small, right? Now see, I can change this background property. This dot bg call is equals to red, and this dot bg, this dot bg call is equals to white. Okay, now go here, refresh it, section. Okay, let's create the CSS width and height dot box width 100 px, height 100 px, and let's apply to this class box. App root, this is the section. Okay, app mg.col, but remember that this is the input property bg call. So you need to write here bg call like this. This is the directive, and directive has this input property. Here we can say yellow in the string form, yellow. Just a minute. Now let's remove this guy. App mg.col, app mg.col, host binding input, background color C or simply background. Yeah, it's a style dot, because we have seen three types of the property binding: style binding, attribute binding, and class binding. Here we can bind any of the three. Here we are binding the style. Host binding, what you are exactly binding? Background property of the style. Now see, if you hover over the cursor, it will become red. If you take this out, without the DOM manipulation, you have changed. Without the DOM manipulation, you have changed the thing. Host binding. Host means what? The element on which the directive is hosted. The element on which directive is hosted. Host element. At input means what? The property. This directive has this property, which looks little weird. This directive has this property. Technically, we have seen ng class and other thing. If you see section and ng class, and here itself you do something like this, ng class, and then we pass the object, something like this. Say is okay, is true. We do something like this. ng class is not defined because you need to import the ng class. That's the concern. So here you need to import the ng class. Here you need to import what? ng class, and the error would be getting, there is no error. So if you see, by default color is yellow, but see, ng class is the directive name, attribute directive name, and here app mgcol is the attribute directive name, and the property we have written. So technically ng, here also this is the property binding. To the ng class you have assigned this object. To the app mgcol, this property is there. So this and this, if you want to make similar to the ng class, we can do one thing. This name can be different, and here the directive name and your input property name, directive name and the input property name should be the same, and you can comment this thing. So you can remove it now and simply wrap it property binding to this. So you just change the directive name, and you just make directive name and the input property name as same. You just make the directive name, and let us see this works or not. No, because bgcol now just a variable, it has nothing to do with the input property. So if you see the way ng class is working, ng class property binding, similarly your custom directive property binding. Correct?
Yeah. So this host binding is necessary.
Yeah, host binding means what? Binding the host with this style. Host listener means what? Whatever events are getting generated in, actually this is not necessary.
Don't delete.
Yeah, I'm just commenting that out.
Yeah. And in upper section, why there is a need of writing a constructor?
No, not needed.
No, in the first scenario.
Because actually this is the next concept. Angular will inject the reference of the element into the directive. Angular internally, this is called as dependency injection. This is the next concept actually, this one.
Okay.
So Angular,
So
yeah, Angular inject this dependency into the directive. So the directive can use this reference. This is the bad practice. Using the element ref directly is a bad practice. HTML injection attacks. So this code is a vulnerable for the HTML injection attack. So this is the bad practice. Now that have been written so the documentation is newer. I was familiar with the older documentation. They have clearly written that about the native element. Directive do not support the namespaces. Okay. See the add element ref, the constructor to inject the reference of the DOM. So XSS attack, it is related to the XSS attack. So Angular
means what?
I'll tell you. Angular dot cross-site scripting. Just a minute. Angular tools, developer guides. Where is the directive? Service workers and chain detection. A lot of things Angular have been removed. This is the older document.
Yeah. Don't you think the earlier is more friendly? And
because we were familiar with that.
Yeah, the new one is bit confusing.
Yes. If you say attribute directives, element ref, host listener. Where is the element ref? Yeah, this is the element ref. So things are similar. Host listener. But This is archived. Okay, fine. Accessing.
Actually, there was an element earlier page. You're searching that only?
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw that.
binding the attributes, applying the attribute directive.
Element ref, I see.
Element ref is there, but I am searching for that line typically. XSS attack.
Okay.
XSS is nothing but what? Cross-site scripting. We inject the script, hackers inject the script from the console. So this code is vulnerable to that thing because element is directly accessible. And this is not. Under the hood, things are happening. So this is nothing but what? Your custom attribute directive. This is how you will listen. This is how you will listen. To the events as well. Right?
So that just go to the code.
Yes.
These are the host, listener, and
Host binding.
yeah. So they are listening events.
Correct.
So they are, I mean, they are what functions or?
They are the decorators.
At the rate means decorators.
Correct.
When you are using with at the rate?
That is the decorator. We have seen, right? Decorators.
Yeah, we see, yeah. In the component, except over there is a decorator. Component.
Just a minute. Okay. This is clear, right? Now,
yeah, so these are predefined decorators.
Yeah, predefined decorators. Correct. Now, what I wanted to do,
sorry, Aniruddha, once again.
Yes.
Inside that decorator, you load functions. Handle moves in.
Correct.
Handle.
These are not inside, these are the normal functions, and we just have attached decorator on it.
Okay. So whenever that event happen, it will directly execute that function.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, what is, I mean, we can, I can't ask you the question, but
No, go ahead and ask.
Event handling and this host listener, and how we can differentiate when to use and when, like,
Directive. If you want to create something reusable, if you wanted to create something reusable, you will use this thing. So you can attach this thing to anywhere, any attribute directive, right?
Right. So this is custom event directive, right?
Attribute directive, custom attribute directive.
But we are handling events here.
Yeah, to the attribute directives we can handle the events. So this is the, see now, just do not get confused. There are three types of the directives in Angular:
Right.
component directives, attribute directives, and the structural directives. So what component directive does? It is the directive with its own template, right? Attribute directive has no template, structural directive has no template. Attribute directive works on the attribute,
Right.
works as an attribute. Structural directive changes the page structure,
Right.
right? So this is the attribute directive. So if it is attribute directives, it can handle the events also.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, now creating the custom structural directive. How do we create the custom structural directive? Let's create the directive nggd repeat rpt. What we need to create? Hello?
Custom.
Custom structural directive
Structural.
repeat. Now what is the use of this custom structural directive? So app component html .ts. So let's import repeat. What's the name? mgcall rpt directive. Import it.
Sorry, Aniruddha.
Uh-huh.
Here, we need to import directive.
Yes.
Everything we need to
Import. Yeah.
So there is a like so Angular core. They are modules, right? @Angular/core.
So these are the node packages.
Node packages.
Inside the node packages, these classes are written.
Okay. So there is a difference with the directives and packages, right?
Yes.
There is @ is added.
No, that is just the naming convention. You can write anything. Inside this router file, this router outlet is there. The way we have the mgcall directive, this is the file name, this is the class name. This is also file name, this is the class name, this is the directory name and file name. Correct?
Yeah.
Just a minute. repeat. Okay, we have attached it. So here I can say section, and I will attach the structural directive star app repeat is equals to 5. So I want to repeat this thing 5 times. I want to repeat something 5 times. Getting my point?
Yes.
Now what? Now what will happen? So how do you write this code? A repeat directive. So if you go here in the documentation, structural directives, yeah, structural directive shorthand. So technically we have used the ngIf, right? Do you remember or not?
Yes.
So when you say star ngIf, so this section is there, and you say star ngIf is equals to true. Let's import the ngIf, otherwise it will not work, and say hi. npm start. Why? Okay, say hi is coming here. So this is actually written like this: ng template, and section say hi, and to this Angular looks at this guy in this way, say true. So meaning of this line, Angular interprets in this way. Meaning of this line, Angular interprets in this way. And this syntax is called as sugaring syntax. Sugaring syntax meaning what? Angular, to avoid this much code, Angular have created this syntactic sugar. Instead of writing all these things, just write it, and I will do this thing internally. Right, so you need to remember this thing while we create our structural directive. Now here if you see the, okay, let's go here. So how do you see if this directive is structural directive or the attribute directive? By looking at their imports, by looking at the constructor private tempref, and here you can say template reference. Template, I think this is the generic class. Template reference, yeah, it's a generic class. HTML element, template reference, then view container reference, private vc ref is view container reference. template reference and what? View container reference, or just make any over here of type any. Now, if you see these things in the constructor, make sure that it is a structural directive. So this template, remember that is nothing but what? This ng template. Internally, no matter what you do here, star ng if, internally it is going to be interpreted as this thing. Internally it is interpreted as this thing. So when you say template ref is a class representing the embedded template, it encapsulates an embedded view, the HTML and the embedded directives for the context of the view. So representation of the template, so it represents this thing over there. The template can be used to create the embedded views with the different context. Embedded views means what? The things which are embedding. The things which are embedding in a, the things which are, so this is the embedded view. Inside ng template, whatever is getting embedded, that's the embedded view. Hello, are you there?
Yes.
So template reference is nothing but the ng template, and whatever included inside that is that VC container ref. Okay. Now what I need to do, VC container dot create embedded view, right? Create the embedded view. When you talk about the embedded view, what you want to show in a template reference, that is nothing but the embedded view. Whatever you want to show in a template reference, that is the embedded view. So when you talk about the view container ref, when you talk about the view container ref, is a container where one or more views can be attached. It represents the location in a DOM where Angular inserts the views. Where Angular inserts the views. So let's complete the code first. Whatever we wanna try to do, let's complete it. Okay. Battery. Okay, so here at input set app rpt, and we are going to get the count is of type number, right? And here we can say this dot vcref dot clear, then for let I is equals to 0, I is less than count, and I plus plus, then const context something from my project. Here we can say index colon I plus 1, and this dot vcref view container ref dot create embedded view, and inside this template reference and this context, right? So when you go here, and here we can say app repeat, and here I can say paragraph p hi, app rpt rpt hi 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 5 times. If you see how it is coming, it is coming say p, and whatever you are writing over here, that is repeating that much times. It is repeating that much times. Now if you go here, something is available to you, say index, and how this is available to you? Count number, any, app root, create embedded view, context. This variable can be accessed in here, app rpt5, error or what? What's the problem? So this count is nothing but what? The count you have set from here, this count will come inside this over here. So at input set app rpt, just clear that guy. So context app index 1, create embedded view, template ref, app rpt. What is the name of directive? App rpt, app rpt5, this paragraph, say hi index. It is saying index does not exist. Yeah, hi 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 5 times. Hello. So you are getting this high 5 times. So whatever number you will return over here, that many time this content would be repeated.
Yeah.
Structural directive, template ref is nothing but, so this can be written in this way. So ng template, ng template count equals to 5, not count, app rpt is equals to 5, hi, yeah. So this is coming from the second thing, this is coming from the first thing. But in the structural directives, the star app rpt is a sugaring syntax. I'll push this much code.
Aniruddha,
Yeah.
I don't understand whatever you put into that code app.
This one?
I understand this one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what you didn't understand?
That constructor part.
This one?
I
Constructor?
mean, I understand the form, but specifically that template type and then create embedded view at the bottom.
So embedded view means what? So whatever you would be creating, just a minute. So in Angular, embedded view is a view that is created from the Angular template and can be inserted at the runtime. So whatever you write over here, that is the embedded view. It is called embedded because it is not a part of the main component view, but can be inserted dynamically into the view container. View container represents container where one or more views can be attached. It provides the methods insert, move, remove view. Okay, let's do one thing. You just go through it, type the code, try to understand on your own. I will explain it on Monday once again.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So this is the TypeScript syntax. Remember that. Getters and setters. So this is the TypeScript getter and setter. This is the set method of the TypeScript. This is what? The set method of the TypeScript. That's it. And over the set method, this is the set method, you have attached at input. So in a TypeScript, we can create a class car. We can create a class car, and inside this car, we can have get speed, right? Get speed is equals to one of the private method of this underscore speed is equals to 10. Sorry, this is the private method, not accessible publicly. This is the private field, not accessible publicly. So we create the getter, public getter is equals to underscore speed. So this is equals to underscore speed. Okay, this is the warning. Set speed, and this val here we can say, and this dot underscore speed is equals to this val. So this is the setter method we are writing, and this is the getter method, right?
Mm-hmm.
So get speed, okay, it is, we need to write it specifically, return this dot speed. It's like this. So this is the private field, and if you want to make a access outside the class, you need a public getter and setter. So this is the setter. Can you see? Set name of the field is the same as the name of the directive, so that we can write in this way. Otherwise, star app rpt, and you need to write one more variable after this. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the setter method we have written. The way we have written setter here, set speed this val, and like this. So this is also set this app rpt, this variable, and we are using that variable internally. So I'll push this much code. Directives and Angular custom directives. Okay.
Yeah.
Please go through the code, try to understand on your own. These are the Angular related concepts, pure Angular related concept, view container, template ref, etc. Try to read it. Documentation is available over here. I will repeat once again on Monday. This is the thing I have implemented.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.